Let us not miss it, but continue to watch and see the salvation of Yahweh. Big things are happening in the spiritual realm, and the only way we can understand it is looking to the word of Yahweh. At this time, I'm going to call on our dear pastor, Pedro, all come and share the word of Yahweh with us. Let's welcome him.
Happy Sabbath to you all, those on the spot, those online. Indeed, look what the Lord has done, look what He has been doing. And we continue to trust Him to do what He has to do so that He can take over this world as quickly as possible, because indeed, our leaders of this world cannot lead and cannot keep peace. And so we look forward for the Prince of Peace to come and take over this world, that he may run it from Jerusalem, as the scripture says, and there be peace at last. And so we look forward to that day. Now today I greet you in the Master's name. We are looking at the two goats of the Day of Atonement. No, today is not the Day of Atonement, so let me declare that. Right? And this sermon will be perfect for the Day of Atonement. I did this presentation on Tuesday night to a person's in New York, in America, USA, and England, and UK, whatever. And I said, let me present it to the brethren here, because what they know, you should know too. You should know before them. But they got it before you. But we have done this before. We have done it before, some time ago, but there's some addition to it that you might need to know, right? And I want us to understand that it is one to come to church and sing and clap and look what I've done and all these things, and it touched my body and my mind, and in time and all these things. But it's another thing for you to know the word of God and to explain it. Because if you don't know it, you can't explain. And if you can't explain it, you don't know it. You understand me? If you don't know the word, if you can't explain the word, you really don't know it. And many times as speakers, we come up and we make these nice presentations, and person don't get it. And so you don't get it, you cannot give it. You can't give what you don't get or have. Right? Now, there's a teaching. It is a teaching that the two goats, because the two goats on the Day of Atonement represent, well, one represents Yeshua and the other represents Satan, the devil. So on the Day of Atonement, when the high priest, pick out the two goats for atonement, we are told that one of them is Yeshua, that was killed and the blood was, and the other one who carried the sins away into the wilderness is Satan, because Satan is responsible for the sins of the world. So what's going on now in Ukraine with Russia now? Putin, is Satan caused Putin to be behaving like that. And Satan now needs to take back the sin and carry it to the wilderness or whatever it is. So that is the teaching. And we want to look into the word. Last week, brother, at the call Brother Asa, because and talk about his presentation, because you see, if we don't know the Torah, then we will not know what about God, you know. And let me just dive a little bit. And I was always worried. I said, why would God want to be upset with David when David counted the census? Why did God upset to the point where he gave David three options? Are the enemy chasing for 3 months? Or no food for what? 3 months too? For 7 years, no food. Or pestilence by God himself. And David chose, well, I prefer God deal me than man, because when I pray, God will stop. When I tell God, when man will not stop, so at least let me try God. Let me try God thing. So I was wondering, why God so upset with David? Why? For what reason? If David is the king and he wants to know how many people in Israel, then what the problem is? And then lo and behold, as I go read the Torah, found the answer. For years I wanted, and I just got the answer. If I called him and said, no, I tell you the truth. He thought I was calling to tell him, say, he never preached good or whatever. And so the first question he asked me was, what should I have added? I said, what? That's kind of about what you should have added. I called to tell you what I have. You have answered my question for years, that I had for years. Why God was upset with David? Because David did not follow the Torah. He didn't follow the Torah. The Torah, we are told in Torah how to deal with census. God must instruct you first, because it's God's army, it's not your army. That's the first thing. Many of us see that is our church. And David went and go count Yahweh's army as this is one. And he may have not done the other things that were required. You know, the atonement and all these things. Atonement I'm going to talk about today now. Yeah? And so, more and more brethren, those here, those on the internet, more and more we understand that you will not understand the scriptures. Or you understand God and what God requires of you if you don't understand the Torah. Right? You must understand the Torah. What's the Torah? The Torah is the word, the instructions that Yahweh gave to Moses for his. Everybody who want to believe and say what they want to say, fine for you. But if you don't think, you wanted to answer how long. We are told that one goat is Yeshua and the other goat is Satan. So let us see what Torah says. I checked the Torah now. Listen, I preached before and I said no, the two goats can be one can be Satan, because Satan cannot be involved in the atonement process. The atonement means move sin. Satan can't move sin. And so I have believed that, and I have taught it before. But there's a part that I had never saw before until I went to the Torah. And the Torah just clears up altogether, and I am now set with whatever I believed. Because what? The Torah says so. Understand me? So if you want to believe anything at all, if you want to decide what is right, what is wrong, go to the Torah, nothing else. So this church has become a what? A Torah church. I now declare this place a Torah place, a Torah congregation, a Torah assembly. Right? Torah, fully Torah. Good. Thanks. So let's talk about the Torah now. Let's talk about the two goats. So two goats of atonement. I could give you the two texts I found, and I could stop there. 5 minutes, and then, but I'll just go on for those persons who have never heard this before. Right? So let us now look at atonement. What is atonement? Let's define atonement. Again, as helped me out last week. So you see the Lord at work with us, with each other. Right? And I said to the other speakers, whenever you're speaking, and I want to meet with the speakers again, because one thing we need to do when we are speaking, any sermon you preach, any sermon, you must reference the Torah to the fullest. Because a Torah church. Huh? So the speakers must reference the Torah as much as is possible, because there's no other word that we can use to learn any about Yahweh except the Torah. So when we went now and we look at what what atonement means. I saw two words that are used in the scriptures, in the Torah, for atonement. The first word that is used is kafar. Kafar, yes. It's here, kafar, which means to cover. So the verb is a verb. You know, verb is an action word. So if I take, a piece, so I piece a piece of cloth, and if I cover this, so I am doing an action of what? Covering. So I'm covering. So whatever is there. So let's say that somebody comes to your house and the thing look dirty and messy. What do? You cover it. Right? So the act. So kafar is the act of covering, so they don't see the mess or the sin. That's a verb, kafar, to cover. Right? That's cover. To cover. So on the Day of Atonement, when the high priest is dealing with the sin, when he's covering the sin, that we call it now the Day of Atonement. The day of what? Covering of sin. And there are other words again, appease, to cleanse, to disannul, to forgive, to pardon. So all of those are covered. You cover it. You do something wrong, and I cover that. I cover it. I atone that. Huh? That's the first word. The second word that we find. And by the way, this specifically with bitumen is asphalt. So when when the word bad and the pothole and all that, and you get asphalt and cover it, it becomes a brand new road. Right? So you cover something and it becomes brand new and look good. It is dirty, it is messy, it is nasty, sinful. You cover it, you atone, and it becomes nice and look good. That's cover, right? The other word that we find for, and this word I found in the Torah, I must say to you. The other word is Kippur, right? So we hear about now Yom Kippur. Yom is day, Kippur, atonement. So day atonement, or day of atonement. Now Yom Kippur comes from, let me go back to that, comes from Kafar. So Kippur comes from Kafar. Which so Kippur means to expiate, cover, the cover. I told me the cover, the noun. So the noun. So this then, so this piece of cloth that I use. So this cloth is the cover, huh? And this now is the act of covering. So the cover. So the day of so Yom Kippur, or the day of covering, or the day is the covering. There's something that does the covering, and that thing is the noun, the Kippur, and the Kippur now does the covering. So Kippur, and this is Kafar. Kippur, Kafar. Good. So this is what we learned. So those are two words. And Kafar is used a lot of times. So Kippur is the cover. So the Day of Atonement is the day of cover. The day when sin is covered, dealt with. Right. Let's move on. Let me get some text on the tour now. Text one, number 1. Exodus 29, verse 36. Thou shalt offer every day a bullock for a sin offering for what this? For what? For what? For a kippur. I'm not sure that they say the 2 words are used in one verse. So the Day of Atonement you shall offer for a sin offering for kippur. So the covering. So what is the covering? What is the covering? The bullock. The bullock is a sin offering for the covering. So the cover is the bullock. The bullock does the covering. And thou shalt cleanse the altar when thou art what? Kafar. When you are making the covering to be done. So when you are doing the covering, kafar, you must use the kippur, which is the bullock. So the 2 words are used in the one verse and is used as you see, right? That's one. Let's look at another text now. Leviticus 23, verse 28. And we know this because we read this every time. And you shall do no work therein that same day, talking about it, Yom Kippur now, they have the atonement, for it is what's that? A day of what? Day of Kippur. It's a day of covering. And to do the covering, the kafar, for you before the Lord your God, right? So atonement. So when we know what I said. We know what I said. Atonement mean at one main with God. We make up a little word and it's a day when the sin is covered. Right? If you want to call it one main, fine. Nice word, but it's a cover. Let's move on. Numbers 5:8. And I want us to go through, I want you to look carefully at the text and to see if we can draw out the text before me draw it out and show you. Because you must be right enough to draw it out as we go through. But if the man have no kinsman to recompense, and we're looking at the same kippur and kafar, let the trespass be recompensed unto the Lord, even to the priest, beside the ram for a kippur. So the ram again is the covering, the cover, whereby an atonement shall be made. Kafar, the act of covering. So the cover is the ram, and the act of using the ram to remove sin, to cover sin, is kafar. Now watch this text now, and let me see what we can bring, what it can come from this text. Look at this text here. Now let me move that because I don't want you to see that. Read the text and tell me what you see here. So we're talking about the 2 goats. The 2 goats we said. So one is for who? For Christ the Messiah, and one is for Satan. Read this text and tell me what you get from this text here. But the goat on which the lot fell to be the scapegoat shall be presented alive before the Lord to make an atonement for him, and to let him go for a scapegoat into the wilderness. What do you get from that? Which goat is used? Which goat is used for the making of the covering? The making of the covering. Look at that. The goat which the lot fell to be the scapegoat shall be presented alive before the Lord Yahweh to make an atonement. Kafar. So the goat that is chosen to be as the scapegoat is to be used to make an atonement with him, and then you let him go. So this goat, the scapegoat, is to make an atonement, is to do the covering itself. The scapegoat is to do the covering, is to make the covering. Is the scapegoat Satan? The scapegoat is to make the atonement with him. You're going to make now. So the high priest is going to make the covering with the scapegoat, and then let him go into the wilderness. All right, looking at some more. Let's move on. That's Leviticus 16:10. No, another thing that we need to understand is this, that atonement is done on a regular basis. So though we have what we call the Day of Atonement, which is once per year, atonement is done on a regular basis. In fact, a daily basis. Because atonement is what? Covering the sin. So once a person would have sinned in Israel, and they go to the temple, and we're going to show you, again in the Torah. They go to make atonement. They go to have their sin one covered, dealt with, removed. Let's look at the text. Right? So we look at them. So we have annual annual covering, and we have daily covering. So let's look. So sin is removed on a daily basis, while the second one is done on a yearly basis. The second removal of sin or covering of sin. So look at now the first text. Exodus 29 verse 36, we read earlier. Thou shalt offer every day a bullock for a sin offering, for atonement, for what? For Kippur. So this is every day now. So Kippur goes on every day. Kippur goes on every day. But Kippur goes on again once a year. So it's what so? You soon see it. So every day you shall offer a bullock for a sin offering, for Kippur, and thou shalt cleanse the altar when you have kafar for it, and thou shalt anoint it to sanctify it. Exodus 30 verse 10. Look at that. It again. And Aaron shall make an atonement upon the horns of it once per year with blood of the sin offering of atonement. Once in a year shall he make atonement upon it throughout your generation. It is the most holy unto the Lord. Again, Moses must do it once per year. Aaron must do it once per year, but we see it being done daily too. So we are seeing generally that bullocks are used to make atonement, but we also see where goats are used too, and we saw it there. Watch this now. Watch this. Numbers 29 verse 11. And if you read Numbers 29 outline 29, 30, 28, 29, 30, I think, outline all the sacrifices and the offerings should be done on a daily basis, on the Sabbath, and all the feast days. So that's so the part of the Torah outline all the offerings and the sacrifices to be done. So we're not jumping to the part for atonement, Kippur on the yearly basis. 1 kid of the goats for a sin offering. Beside, what is now? What does beside you mean? What do you mean by beside? What word would you use to put for beside, apart from beside? Huh? Along, what again? Who? As well as, yes? Also, in addition, aside from, also. So here, and if you want to go, and if you want to be technical, you could say across from. So you said one goat is here across from the other goat. If you want to say that, huh? In parallel, so one beside the other, right? So here, this is the instruction was given in the Torah now, not by Pastor Arlo. The Torah says, on the Day of Atonement, and you can read the entire text yourself, 1 kid of the goats for a sin offering, alongside or beside or in addition to the sin offering of atonement. That is the second goat. I'm going to get the next text. If you think that is it. So this text is showing us in the instruction that the 2 goats are what? Sin. Look at it. 1 kid of goat for a sin offering, beside the sin offering of atonement. So this kid here is not seems to not be the sin of the atonement. Is a sin offering, but not the sin that the atoning the kafar. Is that the last one? The Kippur? The Kippur, right. Yeah, right. The cover. So 1 kid of the goat for a sin offering, beside the sin offering of atonement. So there's 2 sin offerings. We are seeing one just direct sin offering and another sin offering for the cover. And the continual burnt offering and the meat offering of it, and drink offering, all the excitement there. Look here now. Look at these 2 texts now. Look at these 2 texts that we read earlier. And look now. Numbers 29:11, I just read it. 1 kid of goats for a sin offering, beside, in addition to, the sin offering of atonement. Leviticus 16:5. And he shall take of the congregation of Israel 2 kids of goat for a sin offering. And the 2 kids here, 2 kids of goats for a sin offering, which coincide with this text, saying that 1 kid is a sin offering beside the other sin offering of atonement. 2 kids of goat, and this is Leviticus 16. The 2 kids of goat for sin offering, the 2 of them are sin offering, but 1 is for the cover. 1 is for the cover. The other is not for the cover. This is what these 2 texts are showing. So this is Torah telling you what to do. All right. So if you see these 2 texts and you still say that the other goat is Satan, then a Satan has become a sin offering for us. And this is no serious problem if Satan has become a sin offering. The other thing we want to also understand, brethren, is that all the animals used in the temple system, none of them refers to Satan. Not one animal that is used in temple. Satan has he can't even go in the temple. Right? So let's just now look at how sin is removed in the sanctuary now. In the sanctuary or in the temple. Let's see how sin is removed. Because, and then you'll understand, I fully understand more how this whole thing works. When we look at Leviticus 4 is that part of the Torah that explains how you must deal with sin. So when a man sin and he realizes sin, you must do something. You just go and just do as you like. You must do something particular. Leviticus 4 tells us what to do in Israel. Right? The Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel. If a soul shall sin through ignorance against any of the commandments of the Lord concerning things which ought not to be done, and shall do against any of them, that's one. And if a priest that is anointed who sin according to the sin of the people, then let him bring for his sin which he hath sinned a young bullock without blemish unto the Lord for a what? A sin offering. He shall bring the bullock unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation before the Lord, and shall do what? Lay his hand upon the bullock's head and kill it. So this is the bullock. You put his hand on the bullock's head and then kill it. I'm going to show you why. And the priest shall take the blood of the bullock and sprinkle it and bring it to the tabernacle of the congregation, and the priest shall dip his finger in the blood and sprinkle the blood 7 times before the Lord, before the veil of the sanctuary. So this up here, the sanctuary, this up here is the most holy place, the sanctuary. And the veil is there to part of the sanctuary there from here. So the priest should take the blood and dip in his finger in the blood and sprinkle here 7 times. You can't go inside here, just here alone 7 times. Right? You should do that. That's one. And after he has done that, he should put the blood upon the horns of the altar. So so the altar is down the bottom there. And he put the blood on the horns of the altar, which is in the tabernacle of the congregation, that's down the bottom there. And shall pour all the blood of the bullock at the bottom of the altar. So all the blood now, so it's not talking about the altar and the blood and all that. So all the blood now would have been poured out at the bottom of the altar. So you know say a hoop of blood. The bloody altar that. Because every day you're pouring blood there. Serious blood. A whole heap of blood is there. And and in verse 13 he said, if 13, you can read for yourself, you won't have to go through all of them. He said, if the whole congregation of Israel sinned through ignorance, and they found out, then you must bring the bullock again also, and the elders, all the elders of Israel must put their hand on the bullock, and then the bullock is killed. Why? What is the purpose of that? But anybody ever thought about it? Why you put your hand on the bullock? Yeah? So there's a transference of sin from the what? From the guilty to the innocent bullock. So the bullock has to be what? Spotless, without blemish. So a pure bullock, innocent bullock. But the man is sinful, and so when you put your hand on it, there's a transfer of and this now electronic transfer. So if you think say computer just come in, and you send something from your laptop and you go to the printer and print. A long time since I leave through without wire and all these things. Long times we have Bluetooth. So the sin Bluetoothed from the man onto the bullock. A transfer, I use Wi-Fi. Wireless transfer. Right? And so the sin now, I think I have the picture there to show you. Let me see if I can find the picture. Let's get it. I soon come to the picture. So the sin leaves from the sinner, from the guilty, and is transferred to the innocent. And what happened? And the innocence of the innocent is transferred to the guilty. So the guilty becomes what? Innocent, and the innocent becomes what? Guilty. And who should die? The guilty should die. And so the guilty is killed. And the man goes home innocent. That's what happens. That's what happens every day when you do atonement. Right? So look at that now. So the laying of hands on the animal and confessing the sins transfer the sins from the sinner to the pure animal, which takes the place of the sinner and is killed. So the purity of the pure animal is transferred to the sinner, making him pure, while the impurity of the sinner is transferred to the pure animal, making it impure. And then we kill the guilty one, which is the goat. The blood of the animal is then sprinkled before the sanctuary. So what happened there now? So when you sprinkle the blood at the sanctuary, what happened? What do you think happened there? Because the goat is now guilty, and the blood contains what? It contains the guilt. And so when you pour the blood at the before sanctuary, it defiles the sanctuary. And when the blood is placed on the horn of the altar, the horn of the altar is also defiled. And when you pour the blood under the bottom of the altar, the whole altar is defiled too. So every day that this happens, every day that somebody comes to have their sin covered, it affects the sanctuary, and it affects the altar and the horn of the altar. So you will realize now that on the Day of Atonement, once a year, it is the sanctuary and the altar and the horn that is covered. Because all the sins of Israel would have defiled the sanctuary. So atonement, Day of Atonement, is really for the sanctuary, which would indeed still be for the people, because their sin messed up the sanctuary. You follow? So let's move on. So we're looking at the Torah, what the Torah works. So this is a little thing now, a little diagram to show. Oh, we show this so that the people on Zoom can see. So here is the poor little guilty man, whatever he had done. And here is a pure animal. So the sinner's impurity and death is transferred to the animal. The animal's purity and life is transferred to the sinner. The sinner was impure. The animal was pure. When the transfer is done, Bluetooth transfer, then the man becomes pure, the animal becomes impure, and the animal is killed. And that is why, and I'm going to show you some text, that Yeshua now, he said, he took on the sins of the world. So the sinner will pass onto him and place on him. You know, is Satan? No, man, it's Yeshua. It's a took on the sin, not Satan. Oh, let's move on then. Let's move on. So every time in Israel, as a nation or an individual sin, the sanctuary becomes defiled and the sin is transferred into the sanctuary and remain there until the Day of Atonement. Look at Leviticus 20 verse 1 to 3. The Lord said unto Moses, again, thou shalt say to the Israelites, whoever he be of the children of Israel, or a stranger that sojourn in Israel, that giveth any of his seed unto Molech, he shall surely be put to death. The people of the land shall stone him with stones, and I will set my face against that man, and will cut him off from among his people, because what? He had given, of his seed unto Molech, to defile my sanctuary. So every sin that is done defile the sanctuary, because me have to know cover on the sin, and for it to be covered now, we'll have to know, go and get the blood and sprinkle the place every time you do it. So you defile my sanctuary. Right? 2 Chronicles 36, verse 14, 15. Moreover, all the chief priests and the people transgressed very much after all the abominations of the heathen, and they have what? Polluted the house of God. So every time they transgress, it goes back to the house of God. They pollute the house of God. The sins affect the sanctuary, the house of God. Zephaniah 3, verse 4. Her prophets are light and treacherous persons. Her priests have polluted again the sanctuary. They have done violence to the law. To do violence to the law is to pollute the sanctuary, because the sin goes there. Right? And this is what happened. So let's look at something now that Yeshua now. Oh, the transfer of sin went from the guilty to the innocent, as is said about Yeshua. First text, Isaiah 53, verse 6. So the man said, "You want some text? Let's go with some text." Isaiah. All we like sheep have gone astray, all of us, wicked and disgusting. We have turned everyone to his own way. Everybody want their own way. Everybody want to do their way. It's no more Yahweh way. It's no more God way. It's their way. And I must do this way. And I must this. And everybody must do based on my culture. So God can become a culture. You know? So if the culture says yes, then go for it. All have gone to his own way. And the Lord, what is now? And the Lord had laid on him, Yeshua, the iniquity of us all. So all of our iniquity has been laid upon Yeshua. All of it. He was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He was brought as lamb to the slaughter, and as sheep before her shearer is dumb, so he opened not his mouth. He was taken from prison and from judgment, and who shall declare generation? And he made his grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death, because why? Why did he make his death, his grave, the death in his grave and all that? Why? What it says? Why? Because what? Because he had done no violence. So how you don't know violence, but you kill him? Yeah? Yeah. He was taken from prison and from judgment, and who shall declare generation? For he was cut off of the land of the living. For the transgression of my people, he was stricken. So he died because he had done nothing wrong. Neither was any deceit in his mouth. Yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him. So he did not sin, but the Lord bruised him. He was obedient, but him get the thing, the chaff. He had put into grief when thou shalt make his soul a what? An offering for sin. So the same thing happened in Israel is what happened to him. He took on the sins. The sinner, the sins were transferred to him. Look at this text here now. The next day John see Yeshua coming unto him and said, Behold the Lamb of God which what taketh away the sins of the world. The Lamb of God that take away me to lift up, to take it up. To take up the sins of the world. He carried the sin. He take the sin upon his own body as a goat in the atonement. Takes. We're coming to that. We're going back to that. We're going to look, brethren, at why is it? Because on a regular basis, only one goat is used for atonement. But on the atonement, there's two goats used. I want to know why. I explain it out nicely to you. Then we finish. Hebrews 9:28. So Christ, the Messiah, was once offered to bear the sins of many, and unto them that look for him shall he appear the second time without sin unto salvation. So though he bear the sin of many, when he comes back, he will come with what? No sin, I sin gone. That he bore. The goat, the lamb, the goat. 1 Peter 2, verse 24. Who in his own self bear our sins in his own body on the tree, that we being dead to sin. So we are the sinner now. So we being dead to sin should live. Can you imagine that? So the person who sin and should be dead to sin live, and the person who should live die. Transference. Next text, 1 Peter 3, verse 8. Let me find my thing here. For the Messiah also at once suffered for sins. The just for what? The just suffered for the unjust, that he might bring us to God, being put to death in the flesh, but he was what? Quickened by the Spirit. The just for the unjust. Revelation 1 verse 5. And from Yeshua, the Messiah, who is the faithful witness and the first begotten of the dead, and the prince of the kings of the earth, unto him that loved us and washed us from our sins in his own blood. So the blood is needed for the removal of sin. All right, so this constant removal is done on a regular basis. And then now, but when it comes now to the atonement, the Yom Kippur now, the day of atonement now, then we have something else happening. And let's look at that now. Right? At that now. Remember now what happened in the atonement? And I want to get this now carefully. Write this down. Write this now. It takes a sin offering to make atonement. Right? Or atonement has to be done with a sin offering. The two work together. You can't have atonement without a sin offering. You can't have a sin offering if you are not doing atonement. Watch this now. Let me go again so you can understand it. Once you hear that atonement is to be done, you must have what? A sin offering. If a man comes to you and says, this is a sin offering, when come for? Atonement. You cannot go give him, you cannot use that offering there to make a burnt sacrifice. Because the only way a sin offering is used is for atonement. And you cannot do atonement without a sin offering. Right? And an offering don't have to be killed at all times. It can be given alive. Hence the second goat. You understand me? So we're going to get there now. Let's go there. So it's Leviticus 16 is where now we talk about the Day of Atonement. What should the high priest do and all these things? So remember now, I don't want you to miss this. When you read the Torah, the only time you bring a sin offering to the temple is to make an atonement. Sin happens, so we're going to atone, we're going to transfer it. Alright? Let's move on now. Leviticus 16 verse 1, the Lord spake unto Moses after the death of his two sons of Aaron, and they offer before the Lord and die. So they offer wrong sacrifice and die. And the Lord said to Moses, speak to Aaron thy brother, that he come not at all times into the holy place, which is up top here, within the veil before the mercy seat, which is upon the ark, that he die not. Let's jump down to verse 5. He shall take of the congregation of Israel 2 kids of the goats for a sin offering. How much animal normally you carry when you doing your regular atonement? One, yes. One, but for this atonement now we are carrying 2. This is the only time in the Torah when 2 animals are used for atonement. Everything else is 1. Now this is 2. You shall take of the kid the 2 kids of the goat for a sin offering. So it also means that this 2, so it's not 2 sin offering. It's 1 sin offering. So both goats working together to do the what? Do the one thing. The one thing. Both goats are doing the one thing. So it's 2 kids for a sin offering. And 1 ram for what? A burnt offering. So the ram here is not for sin offering, but a burnt offering. The 2 goats. Aaron shall, but we see earlier on that he was also bring a bullock for himself in verse 3. Verse 3, look at verse 3. Thus shall Aaron come into the holy place with a young bullock for a sin offering. So a bullock for a sin offering and a ram for a burnt offering. So so when he's coming into the holy place, which is up here, the most holy place, he have to bring a bullock for a sin offering and a ram for a burnt offering. And when he put on his holy linen coat and shall have the linen breech upon him flesh, put on him blue man, because we can't want him to see him parts, and shall gird his linen girdle, and with the linen mitre shall he be attired. These are the holy things, and so shall he put them on, and he shall take of the congregation of Israel 2 kids for sin offering, right? And a ram, the same ram, and a ram for burnt offering. So 1 for Aaron, and 1 for the people of Israel, and 2 goat kids for the people of Israel. Let's move on. Aaron shall offer his bullock of the sin offering, which is for himself. So the high priest now have to do a covering for himself, because you're going into the most holy place. You can't go in as a light. So you're going to fix up yourself first to come into the holy place. So watch now. Aaron shall offer his bullock of a sin offering, which is for himself, to make an atonement for himself and for his house. So you have to fix his family first. Because if Aaron didn't go, if Aaron goes in bad, and die, the entire house will be killed. Wife and children will be killed too. And that is why in the scripture, and I want to understand in the scripture, when a man sin, when this man, when man name again, Achan sin, they kill the wife, because guess what? This is a man sin. The man sin, so all sin go up, and the entire family is affected. And so males need to understand their importance in the family. And that you can, whatever you do will affect the family, the wife and the children. So if Aaron had not had gone into the holy place without the bullock for his sin, the wife and children would have died along with him. And that's why when Eve ate the fruit and Adam ate also, who was blamed? Adam. The Bible says it's Adam's sin. Because the man has this responsibility, the man is head of the house. And that is why, even if the Bible says that, 3 times a year should go up before all your males should go up. So once the male go up, then the family goes up. goes up, even if the family doesn't go. But the male is representing the family there. So it is the male who makes the decisions. The wife doesn't make the decisions when it comes to God and God business. It's the male. And if the wife making a decision, then the wife would have now rebelled against the male, the head, and hence against God. Because Yahshua is the head of the man. And the man is the head of the woman. So we have to understand Torah now, brethren. We have to understand Torah. So Aaron take care of his sin first before he goes into the most holy place. And he shall offer bullock of sin offering, which is for himself, and make an atonement for himself and for his house. When those men rebel against Moses, Korah, is who and who they dead in the earthquake? Eh? Who went down in the earthquake? When the earth opens its mouth, it said, and the people following it. Who went down in it? Is Korah alone? Korah and his wife and children. One man sin, and the whole family was affected. And it's not because God is wicked. It's all the things set up. The things set up that the man is the head. And when he goes wrong, everybody is affected. And so the man needs to understand his responsibility. And that you have to make sure that you are in the right. And you cannot allow anybody with a child or wife or grandparent to tell you, say, oh, if you work, when the Bible says so. If the Bible said Torah and said X, you do X. Because once you go against that, you go against God, and your entire household will be destroyed. You can't wife and children and the donkey and the goat, or the dog is responsible by the husband. So we have order in the family. Order. And once you go wrong, everybody go wrong. That's why when Adam, when Eve ate and bring and give it to Adam ate, they said what? All die. In Adam, all die. Because Adam was the head. So everybody from Adam, once you fall under Adam's seed, you're dead. And all of us are Adam's seed. And the whole of it dead. Did I eat any fruit? I don't know what the fruit is. And me go die. Why? Because Adam the head had sinned. And once Adam sinned, then all of us sin. This is how the Torah set up the thing. So the men have their responsibility in the family. The men must take charge. The men must do what is right. What is right, not what you want to do, but what is right. And the female must allow the male to do what is right. And once you do what is right, based on the Torah, then you go with him. If you not go on with the Torah, then you might can't go on. Because if you go wrong, then you're gonna get the knock. But once it's going to the Torah, go with him. He's in charge. So watch now. We get another thing out of this thing here. And here on now, watch this now. So this is where now they are the problem. Verse 7, and he shall take the 2 goats for our sin offering, because we saw the goats are our sin offering, and present them before the Lord at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And Aaron shall cast lots upon the 2 goats, 1 lot for the Lord. And this is a verse that people use to say that one is for Yahshua or Jesus, and one is for Satan, because we must cast lot. 1 lot is for the Lord, and the other lot for scapegoat. The scapegoat sounds like something bad. Bad something, so it's Satan that. That's what scapegoat means. Right? Now, why would you cast lot? Why would you cast lot on the 2 goats? Cast lot mean you shuffle the dice or you do something. You put in 2 goats and you say, well, meeny, miny, one. So this is goat 1, goat 2. Both goats are pure, right? Both goats are pure. But one is with the Lord. I can't point because I don't want to be biased. So one of the goats are for the Lord and one of the goats for a scapegoat. Why should I cast lot to see which one for the Lord and which one for the scapegoat? He told them pure and fine. He told them can't do this, do work. Why do I cast lot? For what reason? What purpose? Where are we? Oh, so we cast lot to see which one is really for Satan. But he told them pure. Make what? Make God decide. Good answer. Make God decide. Suppose you have two children now. You have two sons. They have two sons. You told them qualify for the university scholarship, but it's only one scholarship you have. How will you decide which one to get it? You have two. No. You have two sons. The two are twin. But the two go to the same age. Two of them pure. Both of the sons are qualified for a university scholarship, but you only get one scholarship. How do you decide who to give the scholarship? The twin. How do you decide on that now? What is the best way to decide on it? Because if me now say me want him to get it, the wife will say, no, you bias to him. Why don't you give him because him qualify too? Or if I said I want him to get the shit, no, you bias to him. You love him more than him. So you need to give him. So to cut out the bias, we cast lots. So if I put the two names in one bag and shake it and draw a name, can you say I'm biased? The bias gone. Anybody's drawing name. I remember years ago when we were deciding, myself, we were deciding which school to send Nathaniel. And she said one school, one school. They said, I think I said Diego prep, and she was Catherine prep. Something like that. I said, all right, none of us said, right, this is something, but we put Diego and Catherine and whatever in the bag, and we cast lot. And the lot fall upon Diego. So I can't curse her, she can't curse because there was no bias in it. So we cast lot. So lots are cast for, to what? To prevent human bias. Human bias. The other thing we see in the scripture where that was cast was when Judas, and watch this, and because the people who say that you cast lots because one is for Satan, one is not pure, they are incorrect. Because both goats are pure. When Judas, precisely, so if one is Satan and what they don't cast because you know who's Satan already. When Judas killed himself because he had betrayed the innocent one, what happened to replace Judas? Yahweh gave them two men. Both men were worthy. But you only want one man. So what they did? They cast lots. Because if you get a man, you say bias against this man. I give him, they say bias against him. So to prevent human bias, you are not going to cast lots. And that's what Aaron does. To cast lots, so Aaron's wife can't say to Aaron and say, because you love that goat here, why you give him as scapegoat, or because you give this one as the one for the Lord. That's all, no other reason. Not because one is Satan and one is whatever. But both of them are pure goats. So we cast lot. We don't want to follow the foolish argument about you cast lot because that's Satan and one for the Lord. The lot was cast to deal with human bias, not God bias, because God don't know which goat he want to use. For which one? And when you put it in the bag now and he's spinning one, God make it take out the one and say, is him. Nobody can argue, say, which one is used for what. Let's move on. Soon come down. So remember now that the atonement is done with a sin offering. So both goats are for sin offering. Two goats, go back again to these texts. Look again to the text. One kid of the goat for a sin offering beside the sin offering again of atonement. You shall take of the congregation of Israel 2 kids of goat for a sin offering. It's there. This is clear as crystal. Clear as crystal. We're going to continue looking at that, but let's just look now at the Azazel, the scapegoat. Because they say one could, so the word scapegoat looks sound, and they said scapegoat comes from the word Azazel. Azazel. So Azazel now sounds like a demon and some dragon coming out of, and people say now the people who believe that one is for Satan said Azazel was a name of a demon and all these things. Let's see what Azazel means in the Hebrew. Look what you take. Look at what Azazel means. Goat that is to go out in the wilderness. Azazel. That's all it means. It doesn't mean no bad name or anything demonic or anything weird. It just means one goat is to be used for the Lord and the other goat is used to carry sin to the wilderness. The goat that carries sin to the wilderness is called the Azazel. The goat of departure, the goat that departs from the camp. And then it comes from 2 words. Az, or az, which means goat, and azal, which means to go away or to disappear. So one goat is for the Lord, and one goat is a goat that is to go away. That is all. Let's move on. I'm coming now. And Aaron shall bring the bullock of the sin offering, which is for himself, and make an atonement for himself first, because he's to go into the most holy place. He must start out his life first. And for his house, and shall kill the bullock of the sin offering, which is for himself. And he shall take the censer, watch it carefully now. He shall take the censer, and full of burning coal of fire from the altar of the Lord, and his hand full of sweet incense, beaten small, and bring it within the veil. So Aaron is going to bring now the blood of the bullock inside the most holy place. How? Because sin offering. Because normally the sin offering, the blood is poured outside the veil, but it's going inside the veil now. Okay, how can I explain that? How can I explain that? Because all sin offering, when you kill the thing, you should sprinkle blood outside before the veil and the altar. But he brings that one into the veil. Into the veil. And when you read further, it says that is to sprinkle the mercy seat. And he shall put the incense upon the fire before the Lord, that the cloud of the incense may cover the mercy seat upon. And he shall take of the blood of the bullock and sprinkle it. Sprinkle it means the mercy seat with his finger upon the mercy seat, the blood upon the mercy seat eastward, and before the mercy seat shall he sprinkle the blood with his finger 7 times. So the mercy seat now get the blood. Once per year, the mercy seat is sprinkled with blood. How it happened? We're not reading. The bullock, Aaron did not place his hand on this bullock. Look at the text again. He shall bring the bullock, and he shall bring the bullock of sin offering, which is for himself, and make an atonement for it, for his house, and shall kill it of a sin offering and for himself. So it does so this bullock, and we're not placed on it, because once they are placed on it, then what happened? The Bluetooth transfer take place. No transfer is done here. So this blood now can come into the veil. And we see the same thing happen with the first kid. The first kid and was a place on him. So no transfer of sin was done onto the first kid. That's why his blood could go also into the holy place. But when that is done, you see the hand is placed on the second goat. The transfer now take place. And that could go away with the sinner. Watch it. So we soon finish. Almost finished. Then he shall kill the goat for the sin offering, that is for the people sin, and shall bring the blood within the veil also. So this blood go in the veil also, and do with that blood as it did with the bullock blood. Sprinkle the mercy seat and before the mercy seat. And he shall make an atonement for the holy place, because what? Of the sins, the uncleanness of the Israelites, and because of their transgression in all the sins they make for the whole year, so shall he do for the tabernacle of the congregation, that he remain among them. So the entire temple was sprinkled now with this blood of the first lamb, first goat. But no hand was laid upon the first goat. So there was no transfer of sin to the first goat. So when that first goat was killed, the blood is still what? Pure. And it's a pure blood now that goes into the veil and wipe out the sins out of the veil, and off the mercy seat, and off the altar, and off the horn on the altar. Right? So that blood, that pure blood, does that cleaning. You couldn't put your hand on it and then use that blood to clean, to go in the mercy seat, because that would be sin affecting the mercy, which is the throne of God. Right? And this is where the people fail to understand, because they don't understand that this goat, the first goat, did not have any sin transferred to him. It's the second goat that the sin was transferred after it was cleaned out of the temple. Coming now. Continue verse 16, verse 17. And there shall be no man in the tabernacle of the congregation when you go in to make atonement for the holy place, until he came out. Verse 18. And you shall go out unto the altar that is before the Lord, and make atonement for it, and take the blood of the bullock and the blood of the goat, those two animals, and put it upon the horn of the altar around about. And you shall sprinkle the blood upon it with the 7 fingers 7 times, to cleanse it and to hallow it from all the uncleanness of the children of Israel. So on the Day of Atonement, atonement were done for the high priest and his family, the sanctuary, which is the most holy place, the altar, the tabernacle, and the people of Israel. Every stuff from inside out, right? So everything was atoned for. Normally on a day to day, only the person who sinned, atonement is done for. But on a Day of Atonement, everything, altar, everything, a sanctuary, because all the sin pack up in the sanctuary all over the place. And we want to clean it out. And guess what? When they clean out, it needs now be taken outside of Israel. Verse 20 of 16. And when he had made an end of reconciling the holy place, the tabernacle, the altar, he shall bring the live goat. Live goat time now. And Aaron shall lay both his hand upon the head of the live goat. Bluetooth time now. And confess over him all the iniquities of the Israelites, and all their transgressions, in all their sins, putting them upon the head of the live goat. So here now, this is now where the transfer thing. Normally, is one animal is used, a bullock, you put it underneath, transfer the sin, and kill it, and good. In this case now, the first you have used 2 goats, because you want one blood to be pure and nice and clean, to clean up the temple, and then we now take the sin now, we clean from the temple, from the sanctuary, and put it on another goat to carry it out. We cannot have the dead goat can't carry out the sin. So we need a live goat to do the carry. Because it must leave Israel. If it stays in Israel, the sin remains among Israel, and Israel remains sin. And the sanctuary will still be sin and defiled and corrupt because of the sins of the people of Israel. So Aaron lays with both hands upon the head of the live goat, confess over him all the sins of the people, and he put it upon the head, and shall send him away by the hand of a fit man into the wilderness. And the goat shall bear upon him all the iniquities unto a land not inhabited. And he shall let go the goat in the wilderness. Let's move on. So the second goat was not killed, because if you kill him can't move with the sins of Israel. And guess what? A man couldn't bring the sin out of Israel either. Because if he bring it out of Israel, he can't come back. Because the sin is on him. Once you confess the sin upon something, that thing must die. When the second goat goes in the wilderness, it dies there. And the sin dies with it. That's why there's a Yeshua took on the sin, he died with it, but he comes back when? Come back out. Sinless, because once he had died, the sin died with him. So when he raised from the dead, he raised up pure. You follow? So if you understand things, you have to understand the Torah and these things, and you learn these things. If not, then you don't get it. You preach kind of foolishness to people. So one man asked, so we have two Jesus. Because it's two goats, Mr. Listen carefully. Mr. Listen carefully. Don't laugh. Because when we're talking about, we don't laugh and joke. You know, say, the one goat could not do the two jobs. If you kill one goat and him dead, you can't move the sin out. You need something to bring the sin out of the camp. And it has to be a live goat. It has to be a pure goat. It has to be a live goat. If you use one goat and you have atonement, the sin stay right here. There's not two Jesus. It's one Yeshua doing both jobs, but because you are depicting it using animals, you have to use two animals. Because one can't do it. Yeshua died and rose. The animal can't die and rose because the animal want to kill him dead. So it's not that it's two Jesus doing two different work. It's one Yeshua doing both work at the same time because of his death. And the high priest is also Yeshua. So you want three Yeshua then. So you have to understand all the limitations of the physical to deal with, to portray the spiritual. So this is why the goat didn't die. So it's not because it's Satan, because Satan will die anyhow. So the goat went into the wilderness and watched. And the other thing that before I close up, the other thing that the people who believe that one is Satan say is that, so the goat was sent in the wilderness. So they asked now. So and when Christ rose, he went to heaven. They said, did he bring the sins to heaven? But he was sinless when he rose, because the Bible said to us that he died and he will return sinless. So when he died, the sin died with him. So when he rose from the dead, he rose when? Sinless. So you could say to us that the desert or the wilderness is what? Is the grave. But the sin was buried there with him. But he rose triumphantly without sin. And so, a brand new person. Hence the need for two goats. One goat now clean the temple, and the other goat take on the sins. So the second goat is also a sin offering. And sin offering doesn't mean, because they ask, why they never kill the second goat? You don't have to, why? Because he needs to go out with the sin. And offering is not always killed. So when Aaron present the second goat before the Lord, what he's doing is offering the goat for what? For atonement. As though Yahweh was Yeshua was presented before his Father, and we will be an offering to Yahweh. So was Christ an offering to Yahweh. So Christ now offered himself to Yahweh to deal with sin. So offering doesn't mean it's always have to be killed. Alright? So we can finish up now. I don't finish, but we can finish up. Let's see if there's anything else that I need to say to you before I finish up. And I can send you this if you want to. One more thing before we run out. I want to show you something else. I'm going to show you one more situation where two animals were used to do the work. Two pigeons. Go to Leviticus 14. Leviticus 14. This is the law of how you treat a leper. So if a leper was healed, even though he's healed, he must be cleansed. Right? And we follow the principle now. Though the leper is healed, he must be cleansed. So the Lord spake unto Moses, as I close, saying, this shall be the law of leper in the day of his cleansing. He shall be brought unto the priest. The priest shall go forth out of the camp, and the priest shall look, and behold, if the plague of leprosy is be healed in the leper, then shall the priest command to take for him that is to be cleansed 2 birds alive. 2 birds. This is the only place we say two of the same animal being used now. And clean, so not but live and clean. And cedar wood, and scarlet, and hyssop. The priest shall command that one of the birds be killed in an earthen vessel over running water. Now we are clean the leper. As for the living bird, he shall take it and dip on the cedar wood and the scarlet and the hyssop, and shall dip the living bird, dip them and the living bird in the blood of the bird that was killed over in the water, and shall sprinkle upon him that is to be cleansed from leprosy 7 times, and shall pronounce him clean, and shall let the living bird loose into the open field. So basically, what happened basically? The first bird killed, the blood, you catch the blood in the water. The second bird, you dip the second bird in the water with the hyssop and whatever, and sprinkle the man. So the man become clean now. Right? The blood clean the man, but the uncleanness need to be taken away. Go out of the place. So is it a live bird now fly away with the uncleanness? The live bird fly with the uncleanness. You couldn't. The man could not have been cleansed if you only one bird, because the uncleanness need to leave. And that's the principle with the 2 goats. The principle. One, you have to have 2 because one need to be used to carry the thing away. And that is basically it. Because of the limitation of the physical. Right? And why was Yeshua killed? Where was Yeshua killed, by the way? Crucified. Where was he killed? Why? Why was he killed outside the city? Because the sin that he took on and the blood that was shed and dropped on the ground couldn't drop in Jerusalem. Because what? The blood with his uncleanness would have dropped and remained in Jerusalem, in Israel. So you put him outside the city so the blood can drop outside of the city. You understand me? Because he could not have died in the temple and then go outside it. Because not like you have 2 goats, one carried out. But guess what? But when you consider where he died, research shows that where he died, you could see there and look straight into the temple and see the veil of the temple. And that's why the students said, when he died, the veil of the temple rent in 2. Meaning, so he did 2 work. He died for the sin, and he also cleaned the temple at the same time. Right? Which the one goat couldn't do. If you have 2 goats to do that. Right? One cleaner, one carried out. And that's what how Yeshua works. So when, brethren, when we understand these things, we can only agree that the two goats represent Yeshua. And the two goats are one doing one work in two parts. So the two goats are doing one work, and we do them in two parts, and that is it. Both goats represent work for Yeshua. Satan has no part in the atonement. Satan has no part in being clean. The goats have to be pure goats. Satan is not pure. He's never pure. He's always sinful and wicked and vile. And he cannot atone or cover for sins. I thank you.